As we continue our study of the name Christian, let us understand what Christ teaches us in regards to the New Testament concerning the topic of drinking. You know, there are so many folks who will claim that they are Christians when yet they are continuously engaging in drinking activities. They're going to exalt and glorify drunkenness. They're going to lift up those in society who are engaging in drinking and who glorify it as such. They call themselves Christians, yet at the same time will have a beer or a wine glass or a liquor bottle in their hand while doing so. What does the Bible teach us regarding drinking? Well, we learn in the New Testament that it is clearly forbidden, and that those that engage in such shall not inherit the kingdom of God. Remember that Christians were first called Christians because they were disciples of Christ. Acts chapter 11 and verse 26. And Jesus tells us in John 8 and verse 31 that his disciples are those that are continuing in his word. And so for one to say that they're a Christian when yet totally ignoring the word of Christ regarding drinking is not consistent with the Bible and therefore invalidates such a title. Let's notice what Jesus tells us. In his law. 1 Corinthians chapter 6, we learn in verse 10 that drunkards shall not inherit the kingdom of God. Verse 9 says, know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God? Be not deceived. Yes, there are many folks who are deceived, thinking that they're Christians, thinking that they're going to inherit the kingdom of God, when yet all the while they're going about drinking socially, habitually, binge drinking, whatever it might be, and thinking that they're right with Jesus, thinking that what they're doing is acceptable. You know, we don't learn that in the Bible. The word of Christ does not give us that idea and concept. And there are some who would come to this very passage and would say, well, drunkards are not going to inherit the kingdom of God. Drunkards would not be considered Christians. Well, that's true. But then their further argument is that a drunkard would only be those who have drank themselves to the point of losing their family, losing their job, losing their house, and are sitting on the side of the street with a brown bag over a 40 ounce in the middle of drinking. Only those folks would be considered drunkards by so many who would say that this verse is indeed accurate, but they would say it's only accurate to those who have lost everything in their efforts to drink and consume alcohol. Here is my question for such an argument. Would adulterers, who are likewise listed in this passage, verse 9, only be classified as those who have committed adultery to the point of losing their family, losing their job, losing their home, and are out on the street continuing to commit adultery? No, no one would say that that is the only characteristic and that is the only extreme required in order for someone to be classified as an adulterer. All would agree that an adulterer is one who has committed adultery and is unpenitent of such. Well, drunkards are the same way. A drunkard is one who is engaging in the consumption of an alcoholic beverage, just as an adulterer is one who is engaging in adultery. You know, we notice in 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil as a roaring lion walketh about seeking whom he may devour. That word sober there means to abstain from alcohol, to abstain from intoxication, to abstain from alcoholic beverages. Being sober, even science has proven, requires the absence of the consumption of alcohol. Science has proven that yes, even upon the first sip of alcohol, one then loses his or her sobriety. Well, Jesus in his word is very, very plain. Those who are drunkards are not going to inherit the kingdom of God. Drinking alcohol is forbidden. Sobriety is commanded. And so if one wants to be a Christian, if one wants to use the name Christian correctly, alcohol and the consumption of such cannot be included in his or her behavior. Let's put Christ back in Christian and understand the word of Jesus regarding the topic of drinking alcohol.